It was a chilly evening in Los Angeles. The city buzzed with life, cars honking, streetlights flickering, people rushing home. Among them was Marcus, a middle-aged man, exhausted and burdened with worries. Life had not been kind to him lately. Marcus worked 2 jobs, yet barely made ends meet. His biggest concern? A growing stack of unpaid medical bills for his sick daughter, Lena. The hospital had given him an ultimatum: pay within the week, or Lena's treatment would stop. Desperation clawed at his chest. As he walked past a high-end restaurant, he paused. Inside, a group of well-dressed people laughed, their world far removed from his struggles. Among them sat a tall, familiar figure, LeBron James. Marcus knew who he was. Everyone did. A basketball legend, a millionaire, a man living a life Marcus could only dream of. But what could a man like LeBron possibly have in common with someone like him? Nothing. Or so he thought. That night, fate had other plans. Marcus tightened his coat against the cold and walked on, his mind clouded with worry. His phone buzzed. A message from the hospital. Final notice. Payment due in 5 days. Treatment will be halted if unpaid. His heart sank. He had already begged, pleaded, and borrowed from everyone he knew, but no one had more to give. His boss had even cut his hours last week, making things worse. As he crossed the street, he saw his reflection in a shop window. His tired eyes, unshaven face, and worn-out clothes told the story of a man losing a battle against life. Then, a sharp pain shot through his chest. He staggered, clutching his heart. Breathing became difficult. Panic set in. Not now, not here. Marcus reached for his phone, trying to dial 911, but his vision blurred. His legs gave out, and he collapsed on the sidewalk. Pedestrians gasped, some rushed toward him, while others hesitated. One voice cut through the chaos. "Hey, someone call an ambulance!" A deep, familiar voice. Marcus tried to focus. A towering figure knelt beside him. As the world around him faded to black, he caught a glimpse of the man's face. LeBron James. Marcus slowly opened his eyes. The world was blurry, and his head throbbed. He was no longer on the cold sidewalk. The sterile smell of a hospital room filled his nose. He tried to sit up but winced in pain. His chest still ached. A soft voice interrupted his thoughts. "Take it easy, man. You're at the hospital. You've been out for a while." Marcus turned his head. A tall man was sitting by his bedside, LeBron James. His face was calm, but there was something in his eyes that seemed heavy. "LeBron, what?" Marcus tried to speak, but his throat felt dry. LeBron smiled, though it was a sad one. "You passed out, man. I saw you go down. Had to make sure you got the help you needed." Marcus blinked, still trying to process what had happened. Why was LeBron here? Why had he helped? "You were in bad shape," LeBron continued. "I saw you struggle, and it reminded me of something I've been through before." Marcus raised an eyebrow. "You see," LeBron said quietly, "not everything looks perfect from the outside. We all have our battles, our hidden scars." For a moment, Marcus saw a glimpse of vulnerability in LeBron's eyes, a side of him that didn't match the confident image everyone knew. Before Marcus could ask more, LeBron stood up and left the room. But just as he reached the door, he turned and added, "I'll be back soon. You're not alone in this." Marcus was left with more questions than answers. Why had this man gone out of his way for someone like him? What kind of struggle had LeBron faced that was hidden from the public eye? And what did he mean when he said, "You're not alone in this"? The following day, Marcus found himself lying in the same hospital bed, feeling an odd sense of calm despite the uncertainty hanging over him. The pain in his chest had lessened, but his mind was still clouded with the events of the previous day. Then, as the door creaked open, LeBron James walked in again. This time, he wasn't wearing the usual gear of a basketball star, but something far more relaxed. The world-renowned athlete seemed less like a distant icon and more like a man carrying his own share of weight. LeBron pulled up a chair next to Marcus's bed and sat down. "You're looking better," he said with a reassuring smile. "I'm glad you're awake." Marcus stared at him, struggling to make sense of the situation. Here he was, an ordinary man with nothing but mounting debts and a sick child, staring at one of the most famous athletes on the planet. Someone whose wealth and influence seemed worlds apart from his own reality. "Why are you here?" Marcus asked, the question heavy with disbelief. "I mean, you didn't have to help me. You didn't even know me." LeBron leaned back in his chair, his expression serious. "I didn't have to, but I wanted to. I know what it feels like to be at the lowest point. People see me on the court, they see the fame and the money, but they don't see what I've been through to get here. They don't see the sacrifices, the struggles, the nights I almost gave up." Marcus was silent, captivated by the words that seemed to carry a weight he hadn't anticipated from someone so celebrated. LeBron continued, his voice steady but full of emotion. "I grew up in the projects. There were nights when I didn't know where my next meal was coming from, when I didn't think I could keep pushing forward, but I had people who helped me, believed in me when I didn't believe in myself, and now I want to be that person for someone else." There was a pause, the air thick with the honesty of LeBron's words. "You remind me of my younger self, Marcus," LeBron said quietly, eyes meeting his. "You're trying to hold everything together for your daughter. You're carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders. I get that." Marcus felt a wave of emotion flood over him. He had never imagined that someone like LeBron James would understand the struggles of a man like him. There was a connection between them now, one that transcended fame and fortune, one rooted in shared hardship and the unyielding desire to keep moving forward despite it all. "I'm here because I know how important it is to have someone in your corner," LeBron added. "And right now, I'm in your corner." For the first time in what felt like an eternity, Marcus allowed himself to believe that maybe, just maybe, things could get better. Marcus sat there in stunned silence, absorbing the gravity of LeBron's words. The room seemed to quiet down as LeBron stood up and walked over to the small window. The city lights outside cast a soft glow on his face, giving him a serene yet contemplative look. "So, what's going to happen now?" Marcus finally asked, his voice thick with uncertainty. "You don't owe me anything, LeBron. I'm just a guy who doesn't have much left." LeBron turned to face him, his expression unwavering. "No one should ever feel like they're on their own when they need help. You're not alone in this, Marcus. I'm going to make sure of that." Before Marcus could respond, LeBron walked over to the desk where the hospital's billing papers were scattered. He glanced over the documents for a moment, his brow furrowing in concentration. "I'm not just here to talk. I'm here to help you with what you need," LeBron said, his tone firm. "I've already spoken to the hospital. The bills are covered for now. Lena's treatment is secure, and they'll make sure she gets the care she needs." Marcus's eyes widened. He couldn't believe what he was hearing. For the past few weeks he had been consumed by worry, feeling helpless as the bills piled up. Now, out of nowhere, LeBron James, the person he had only ever seen on TV, was offering him a lifeline. "Wait, what? You've already taken care of it?" Marcus stammered. "How? How could you possibly afford to—" LeBron raised his hand, interrupting him with a calm, reassuring smile. "It's not about the money, Marcus. It's about doing the right thing. I've been fortunate in life, but I've also learned that true success is about lifting others up when you can." Marcus felt his chest tighten, but it wasn't from the physical pain anymore. It was an overwhelming feeling of gratitude. His eyes stung as he struggled to find words, but nothing seemed adequate enough to express what he was feeling. "I don't even know how to thank you," Marcus whispered, his voice thick with emotion. LeBron knelt down beside the bed, placing a hand on Marcus's shoulder. "You don't need to thank me. You just need to keep fighting for your daughter. You're doing the best you can, and that's enough. But now you have the support to make sure she gets better." The weight on Marcus's chest lifted, and for the first time in what felt like forever, he allowed himself to feel a flicker of hope. LeBron's words weren't just about money. They were about giving him the strength to keep moving forward, despite the obstacles in his path. LeBron stood up, giving Marcus a final nod. "We're in this together now." Days passed, and Marcus found himself slowly recovering, not just from the physical exhaustion, but from the emotional toll that had been weighing him down for so long. The tension in his chest had loosened, both the literal pain and the burden of anxiety that had consumed him for months. But something else was happening. Each day, as he thought about LeBron's words, a strange sense of clarity began to settle within him. It wasn't just the help that had made the difference. It was the belief that someone, a stranger even, cared enough to act, to step in when things seemed impossible. One afternoon, as Marcus sat by Lena's bedside, holding her hand while she slept, his phone buzzed. It was a text from LeBron. "How's she doing?" Marcus smiled softly, his heart swelling with gratitude. It had only been a few days, but Lena was showing signs of improvement. The doctors were hopeful. "She's getting better, thanks to you. I don't know how to repay you for everything." Seconds later, LeBron's reply came. "Just make sure you're there for her. You're doing the most important thing, Marcus. You're showing her what strength and love look like." As Marcus sat there reflecting on LeBron's message, something stirred deep inside him. All this time, he had been focused on surviving, on simply keeping his head above water. He had been so caught up in the struggle, so overwhelmed by the chaos of daily life that he hadn't realized he had been missing out on something far more important, the moments that mattered. He thought back to his childhood, to the moments with his own parents who worked tirelessly to give him a chance. He thought about the countless sacrifices they had made and how he had taken them for granted in his younger years. Now, it seemed he was repeating the same pattern, focused only on survival rather than on truly living, truly being there for his daughter. Suddenly, it hit him. He had been allowing the weight of the world to drown out what mattered most. The connection with Lena, the precious moments he had with her, the opportunity to be her father in every sense of the word. A tear rolled down Marcus's cheek as he looked at his daughter, her small face peaceful in her sleep. He realized in that moment that the support he had received wasn't just financial. It had awakened something within him, a purpose, a reminder that life was not just about getting by, but about making each moment count. He took a deep breath, his heart heavy but full. He sent a message to LeBron. "Thank you for more than just the money. You've given me something I didn't even know I needed, a chance to truly be there for my daughter." LeBron's reply was simple but profound. "That's what it's all about, Marcus. You're doing the work. I just gave you the support to keep going. Now, go make every day count." As Marcus sat there feeling a rush of emotion, he knew that this moment would stay with him forever. It wasn't just the help he had received that had changed his life. It was the realization that he had the power to change the way he lived it, starting with how he showed up for the people he loved. From that day forward, he would carry that lesson with him, knowing that sometimes the greatest gift we can give is not just our resources, but our time, our love, and our commitment to those who matter most. It had been a week since Marcus had been discharged from the hospital, and life had started to feel a little less heavy. His daughter was doing better, the bills were under control, and he could finally breathe again. But one question kept lingering in his mind. Why had LeBron James, a man with everything anyone could dream of, helped him, a complete stranger, in the way he did? One afternoon, as Marcus sat at a small cafe, he received an unexpected call. It was LeBron. "Hey, Marcus." LeBron's voice was warm but serious. "How are you holding up?" Marcus smiled, feeling a wave of gratitude. "I'm doing better, man. Lena's improving every day. I can't thank you enough." "I'm glad to hear that," LeBron said. "But listen, there's something I want to share with you. Something I've never really talked about." Marcus sat up, intrigued. "What's that?" There was a long pause before LeBron spoke again. "I've always been open about my life, but there's one part that's been a struggle for me. You see, people only see the fame, the wealth, the basketball courts. They don't see the boy who grew up without a father, the boy who watched his mom work 2 jobs just to keep a roof over their heads." Marcus could hear the weight in LeBron's voice. It wasn't the confident tone of the superstar he had come to know. It was the voice of a man who had lived through the pain of not having a stable family, the pain of not knowing if he'd make it out of his circumstances. LeBron continued, his words coming slowly, like he was pulling back the curtain on a part of his life he had kept hidden. "When I was a kid, I didn't know if I would ever escape the projects. I didn't know if I'd have a shot at anything. My mom did her best, but there were days we didn't have enough food, days we didn't know how we'd make it through. But I had a dream. And even when I didn't have anything else, I held on to that." Marcus could feel the emotion in LeBron's words. He had always admired LeBron for his athleticism, his public persona. But now, he saw a different side of him, a side he could relate to. "There were moments when I didn't think I could go on," LeBron admitted. "But I had people who saw something in me when I couldn't see it in myself. They believed in me even when I was at my lowest. They pushed me, helped me get to where I am today." Marcus remained silent, processing the raw honesty of LeBron's story. "I'm telling you this, Marcus, because I don't want you to think that I'm some perfect guy who had everything handed to him," LeBron said, his voice softening. "I've struggled, and I still struggle, but that's why I help people like you. I know what it feels like to be on the edge, to feel like there's no way out. I know how much it means to have someone believe in you when you can't believe in yourself." Marcus felt a lump in his throat. This wasn't just about the money or the hospital bills. It was about something deeper, something far more profound. LeBron wasn't just offering help. He was sharing a piece of himself, his own struggles, and the lessons he had learned from them. "I guess we're not so different after all," Marcus said quietly, a tear slipping down his cheek. "No," LeBron replied, "we're not. And that's why I'm here, because I know how hard it is, and I want you to know you've got this. You can get through it, just like I did." The call ended with a sense of understanding, a connection deeper than Marcus had ever expected. In that moment, he realized that LeBron's help was more than just a lifeline. It was a reminder that no one, no matter how successful, was immune to struggle. But what made the difference was the willingness to lift others up, to share the journey, and to keep going even when the road ahead seemed impossible. Weeks went by, and Marcus found himself reflecting on everything that had happened: his health, his daughter's recovery, and LeBron's unexpected yet profound impact on his life. He was starting to feel like he was finally getting back on track, but there was a nagging feeling he couldn't shake. Sitting in his small apartment, Marcus gazed out the window. The city hummed with its usual pace, but inside he felt torn. He had been offered another job recently, a position that could provide the stability he had been yearning for. The pay wasn't great, but it was enough to keep his family afloat, and there was potential for growth. On the other hand, he had also been thinking about something else, a dream that had sat dormant for years. Growing up, Marcus had always loved working with his hands. He had a talent for carpentry, creating beautiful, functional furniture. But he'd put that aside, assuming it was a dream too far out of reach. After all, who had time for art when survival was the only priority? But now, with Lena's condition improving and his life starting to settle, he couldn't ignore the passion inside him anymore. He picked up his phone and scrolled through some photos of his old carpentry projects. There was a part of him that still felt that spark when he looked at them, an undeniable pull towards something that brought him joy. But he had never made the leap before. The thought of risking everything for a dream seemed impossible. What if it didn't work out? What if he failed? He had a daughter to take care of. The safe, practical option was to take the job and keep grinding. But the other side of him, the side that had been awakened by LeBron's words, the side that believed in more than just surviving, wanted to try something new. As he sat there, wrestling with the decision, his phone buzzed again. It was a text from LeBron. "Hey Marcus, just checking in. How's everything going? Have you made any big decisions yet?" Marcus hesitated before typing back, but the message hit him like a gentle push. "I'm struggling with a big decision. Do I stay in the safe lane? Or do I follow what feels right for me, even if it's a risk?" A few minutes later, LeBron replied, "It's okay to be scared, but you'll never know if you don't try. The path you're on now might be stable, but if you don't take a chance on what you love, you'll always wonder what could have been. You've got this, Marcus. Trust yourself." Marcus read the message several times. The words weren't just encouragement. They were a challenge to trust in himself, to believe in the possibility of something greater than what he had known. With a deep breath, Marcus put the phone down and made his decision. It was time to take a leap of faith. The dream of working with his hands, of building a future that felt more like him, was no longer something he could ignore. He didn't know how it would all turn out, but he knew one thing for sure. It was a decision he had to make. It was his turn to choose not just to survive, but to live. With a sense of determination coursing through him, Marcus took his first step toward pursuing his dream. It wasn't going to be easy, he knew that. But for the first time in a long time, he felt like he was walking towards something that truly mattered. He started small, working late into the nights after finishing his shift at the new job. In the small corner of his apartment, he set up a makeshift workshop, gathering scraps of wood and tools he could afford. Each piece of furniture he crafted was imperfect in some ways, but it was a reflection of his passion, his desire to create something with his hands that felt real. There were moments of doubt, though. After working all day, exhaustion would creep in, and the thought of giving up would often gnaw at him. There were nights when the bills loomed over him, and the fear of failure threatened to drag him back into the safety of his old routine. But then, he would think about Lena, about the hope that had been reignited in him, and about the lesson LeBron had taught him. Every piece of furniture, no matter how small, became a symbol of his commitment to finding a better way forward. It wasn't just about escaping a dead-end job or making a little extra cash. It was about building a life that he could be proud of. A life where he was doing something he loved, not just surviving. Marcus reached out to local furniture shops, offering his pieces at a low price just to get his foot in the door. He went to open mic nights at small community events, showcasing his work, talking to anyone who would listen about his journey. There were many rejections, many moments when it seemed like no one cared, but Marcus kept pushing. He refused to let fear or failure define him. As weeks passed, things began to shift. A small local store took notice of his work and offered to feature a few of his pieces. He wasn't making a fortune, but it was a start, a solid one. His confidence grew, and so did his determination. One day, while packing a new order, Marcus received a call. It was from LeBron. "How's everything going, Marcus?" Marcus smiled as he wiped his hands on his jeans. "Better than I thought. I'm starting to see some movement. It's small, but it's there." LeBron's voice came through with his usual encouragement. "You're on the right path. Just keep at it. Trust that the work will pay off even when it doesn't seem like it will." Marcus took a deep breath, letting LeBron's words sink in. The journey was far from over, but he knew now that it was his to take. The obstacles were still there, the challenges still tough, but he was no longer afraid of them. He wasn't just looking for a way out, he was looking for a way to build something worth fighting for. The road ahead would be long, but Marcus felt more certain than ever that he was on the right path. And with each step, he was a little closer to the life he had always dreamed of. Not just for himself, but for his daughter as well. Just when Marcus thought things were beginning to fall into place, an unexpected obstacle emerged. The small furniture store that had agreed to showcase his work suddenly stopped responding to his emails. The order he had placed with them months ago had gone unfulfilled, and despite his best efforts to reach out, he received no replies. At first, Marcus thought it was a mistake, a simple mix-up. He went to the store in person, hoping to clear things up, but when he arrived, he was told by the manager that the shop had decided to go in a different direction and wouldn't be featuring his pieces anymore. His heart sank. This wasn't just a business setback, it felt like another door slamming in his face. All the work, all the late nights, the hope he'd built, it all seemed to be crumbling before him. As he stood there, trying to keep his composure, the manager handed him back the furniture pieces he had brought in. The polished wood, the craftsmanship, all returned to him like a reminder of his failure. Marcus walked out of the store, carrying his work in silence, each step heavier than the last. He sat in his car, staring at the small pile of furniture in the back seat. The questions began to flood his mind. Was it really all worth it? Was he just chasing a dream that was never meant to be? It wasn't just the rejection that stung. It was the feeling of helplessness. He had relied on that small breakthrough to propel him forward, to prove to himself and to Lena that he could make this dream work. Now, without that support, he felt like he was back at square one. But as he sat there, lost in the weight of his frustration, something clicked. This wasn't the end. It couldn't be. Marcus took a deep breath, wiped his eyes and sent a text to LeBron, not knowing what kind of response he'd get but needing to reach out. "I'm struggling, man. Everything just feels like it's falling apart. I thought I was on the right path, but now, I don't know." LeBron's reply came quickly, as it always did. "I hear you, Marcus, but you know what? The best things in life don't come easy. It's all part of the journey. This setback doesn't define you. It's just another challenge to overcome. Keep going." Marcus sat there for a moment, letting LeBron's words sink in. He could have easily given up, let the setback break his spirit, but LeBron was right. The road to success was never a straight line. If anything, the obstacles made the victory sweeter. With a renewed sense of resolve, Marcus put his car into gear. The road ahead would still be tough, but this time, he was ready to face it head on. The weeks that followed the setback with the store felt like a roller coaster. Marcus had poured every ounce of his energy into finding a solution, creating new pieces, and reaching out to more potential buyers. But each attempt seemed to fall flat. His savings were dwindling, and the fear of failure was slowly creeping back into his mind. Then, one evening, as Marcus sat in his workshop, working on a new design, his phone buzzed. It was a call from an unfamiliar number. He almost didn't answer, assuming it was another cold call or another rejection. But something told him to pick up. "Hello?" Marcus answered, his voice weary. "Is this Marcus?" A voice on the other end asked, sounding professional yet warm. "Yeah, who's this?" "This is Veronica. I'm with a large chain of home goods stores, and I came across your work online. We're interested in carrying your furniture line." Marcus froze. The words didn't seem to register at first. He couldn't believe it. After all the failed attempts, after the setback with the local shop, someone was actually reaching out to him. "Sorry, could you repeat that?" he asked, his heart racing. "We've been following your work, and we'd love to feature your pieces in our upcoming collection. We think your style is exactly what our customers are looking for." Veronica's voice remained steady and confident. Marcus sat back in his chair, stunned. Was this real? It felt like a dream. After months of doubt, rejection, and struggle, this was the breakthrough he had been waiting for. "You're serious?" he asked, almost in disbelief. "Absolutely. We want to move quickly. If you're interested, we can discuss the details, pricing, and distribution." For the first time in what felt like forever, Marcus let out a laugh, one filled with relief, excitement, and a bit of disbelief. "I'm interested more than you know." The call ended, but Marcus sat there for a moment processing what had just happened. It was like a switch had flipped. The struggle, the doubts, the frustration. It all suddenly seemed worth it. This was the moment he had been fighting for. As he stared at the pieces he had made, pieces that had once seemed so insignificant, he realized just how far he had come. From the brink of giving up to this moment of recognition, it was all starting to make sense. His phone buzzed again. It was a message from LeBron. "I knew you had it in you, Marcus. This is just the beginning. Keep pushing. I'm proud of you." Marcus smiled, his eyes brimming with tears. This was it. He had finally made it to the point where he could start building the life he had always dreamed of. And in that moment, he knew that everything he had gone through, every challenge, every failure, had led him to this exact point. It was only the beginning, but it was a victory that felt a lifetime in the making. The day Marcus walked into the large home goods store for the final meeting, his heart was pounding with anticipation. The store's executives had been in touch several times since the phone call, and now it was time to finalize everything. His furniture line was going to be displayed in a chain of stores nationwide. He couldn't help but feel a sense of awe at how far he had come, but the nervousness still gripped him. This meeting would determine everything. As he stepped into the conference room, he saw a few people sitting at the table, each of them wearing a professional yet welcoming expression. Veronica, the woman who had first contacted him, smiled warmly when she saw him walk in. "Marcus, welcome. It's good to finally meet you in person," she said, extending her hand. Marcus shook her hand, trying to steady himself. "Thank you for this opportunity. I can't tell you how much it means." The executives introduced themselves, and they quickly got down to business. They discussed logistics, pricing, marketing strategies, and all the technical details of distributing his pieces across the country. But despite the professionalism of the meeting, it was clear that something more was at stake for Marcus. Something more than just numbers on a page. As they discussed how they would display his furniture in their stores, the final question came up. "We believe in your work, Marcus, but what do you want this partnership to represent? What's the message behind your pieces?" the senior executive asked. Marcus paused. He had never really thought about it that way. For him, the work had always been about survival, about proving he could do it. But now, standing here, this wasn't just about him anymore. Without thinking too much, he spoke from the heart. It's about resilience. It's about believing in yourself even when the world tells you you can't. I didn't have much growing up. There were times when I didn't know if I could even get through the day. But what kept me going was the idea that there was something greater waiting for me. Something worth fighting for. And that's what I want my work to represent. The idea that no matter where you come from, no matter how many times you fall, you can always rise up and build something beautiful. A hush fell over the room. The executives exchanged looks. Veronica smiled, her eyes slightly misted. "Marcus, that's exactly why we chose you. Your story is what we want to share with our customers. It's not just about the furniture, it's about the strength behind it, the heart. You're going to inspire people." The room suddenly felt full of energy. The weight Marcus had been carrying for so long, uncertainty, fear, doubt, began to lift. He could see it all clearly now. This wasn't just a business deal. This was the culmination of everything he had worked for, everything he had sacrificed. As the meeting wrapped up, Marcus felt like he was walking on air. He had done it. The furniture line would be launched in stores across the country, and people would see his creations, his heart, on display. When he got into his car, Marcus took a deep breath. His phone buzzed. It was a message from Lena. "Dad, I'm so proud of you. I knew you could do it." Tears welled up in his eyes as he sat there, gripping the steering wheel. All the struggles, all the late nights, the failures. It was all worth it. His phone buzzed again. This time, it was a message from LeBron. "You've earned this, Marcus. You didn't give up, even when it seemed impossible. Keep going, keep dreaming. I'm proud of you, my friend." The words hit him like a wave, and Marcus let out a shaky breath. This was it, the moment when everything came together. The dream, the hard work, the belief in himself. It had led him to this place. With one final tear slipping down his cheek, Marcus started the engine, ready for the new chapter in his life. The future had never looked so bright. As the days passed and the furniture line launched across the country, Marcus couldn't help but reflect on everything that had brought him to this point. The journey had been anything but easy, and there were countless moments when it felt like the odds were stacked against him. But as he sat in his small apartment, watching the first sales reports come in, he realized just how far he had come. Lena, now in better health, sat beside him, flipping through a book with a smile on her face. The weight that had once been on Marcus's shoulders seemed to have lifted. Their life wasn't perfect, but it was better, more hopeful. Every small victory felt like a monumental one. His phone buzzed again, and Marcus smiled as he saw LeBron's name on the screen. "I saw the news, Marcus. Congratulations. You've done it. I'm honored to have been part of your journey. You never gave up, and now you're showing the world what real strength looks like." Marcus took a moment to process the message. He had made it. And as he thought about everything he'd gone through, one truth stood out above all the others. Success wasn't about avoiding failure. It was about learning from it, rising from it, and continuing to push forward despite the setbacks. He had fought for this moment, and every single challenge, every moment of doubt, had played a part in shaping the person he had become. With a deep breath, Marcus looked at Lena and smiled. "We did it," he whispered. She looked up, her face full of pride, and gave him a hug. In that quiet moment, Marcus realized that the greatest lesson he had learned wasn't about business or success. It was about believing in yourself when the world didn't, trusting that no matter how dark things got, there was always a way forward. And most importantly, it was about showing up for the people who mattered, the ones who believed in you, even when you didn't believe in yourself. He had made it, not alone, but with the love and support of those who had never given up on him. He had built more than just a business. He had built a life. And that, more than anything, was the true reward. It had been a few months since Marcus's furniture line had launched. Business was thriving, and he had even expanded into new markets, creating new pieces that resonated with people everywhere. But as successful as he was now, he never lost sight of the journey that had brought him here. And there was one person whose words had stayed with him through it all: LeBron James. One quiet evening, as Marcus was working late in his workshop, his phone buzzed with a message notification. He glanced at it, and his heart skipped a beat. It was from LeBron. "Marcus, I've been following everything you've been doing, and man, I'm so proud of you. I know the road wasn't easy, but you kept pushing, kept fighting, and now you're not just a success, you're an inspiration. I want you to know that your story has touched a lot of lives, including mine. You've proven that no matter where you start, with enough heart and determination, anything is possible. Keep dreaming big, my friend. The best is yet to come. Always remember, never let anyone tell you that you can't achieve greatness. You've already done it." Marcus sat there for a moment, staring at the message. It felt like a reminder of everything he had overcome. The fear, the doubt, the struggles, and the fact that he had made it. LeBron's words were more than just encouragement. They were a testament to the strength of perseverance, to the power of believing in yourself when no one else did. With a smile on his face, Marcus replied, "Thanks, LeBron. I'll never forget the lessons. I'm just getting started." He sat back, looking at the work he had created. The pieces of furniture that now filled homes across the country, each one a symbol of his journey. A journey that had started with a dream, a little bit of help, and a whole lot of heart. As he looked out the window, watching the sunset, Marcus knew that this was just the beginning. The future was bright, and he had a lifetime of possibilities ahead. If you've been inspired by Marcus's story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more incredible stories of perseverance and triumph. Remember, no matter where you are in life, it's never too late to start pursuing your dreams. Keep believing, keep striving, and the best will come to you. Subscribe now and join us for more powerful stories that will inspire you to never give up.